Fred, I'll let you go ahead.
You ready?
Yeah, that way you don't have to stay.
Oh, I want to stay.
Oh, great.
Let's see what's happening around here. Most of you know me, Fred Winteroth. I'm here to request the possible use of the meeting room for on Thursday, May 4th at noon. The community is doing a National Day of Prayer, and we will be meeting out around the Veterans Memorial area. But in case of inclement weather, we'd like permission to move inside if need be. We've been doing it for the last 30 years that I'm aware of, and we've probably had to move inside about 3 of those times. So not very likely, but if the weather does turn bad, we'd like permission to use the meeting room here for the National Day of Prayer.
Not a problem. We can make that happen. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
You can stand up. You can sit right there.
Okay. You want to tee it up, Brian, or?
Well, at this point, all we can do is introduce her because we got to swear in our new board members.
Oh, okay.
Before we can vote.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. This is Sally Hanley from the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. She's a guest with us, but we've got to swear in. Everybody was just elected, so we've got to swear those in before we can vote.
Congratulations. Okay.
So elected officials rise for your swearing in.
Okay, we have Eric Miller, who will be the administration trustee, Ryan Pearson, water and sewer trustee, Zach Sidek, community and economic development trustee, Caleb Johnson, planning and zoning trustee. Please raise your right hand and you can use your thing, and you're going to insert your name and repeat after me. I, your name,
Ryan Johnson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm,
or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, congratulations.
I think Miller got the most votes, didn't he?
No,
Well,
Caleb got the most votes.
they did not count the mail-in votes when they published it in the Journal Star.
So what was the final one was what you sent us.
Yeah.
So it was Caleb, then
And Eric.
and then Zach. Was Zach third?
Yeah.
I think
I
Zach
beat
was.
Jim.
I think-
That's all I know.
That's his name recognition.
Rod came in, and then Zach, and then Ryan, and then Jeff.
I was waiting for the animal.
I didn't send you that. I can send you that.
Used
I
to
sent
be-
it to everybody
When I
else.
first was on the board, there'd be 3 of us up for election for 3 spots. And Chuck, Bill, all those guys would have like 40 votes, 41 votes, and then I'd have like 29. It's like,
I think the first time I ran, I had 7.
there's only 3 of us, and a third of them, or a quarter of them, just didn't even want to put a vote down for me.
I thought it was just going to be me, so I was surprised I asked anything.
Well, congratulations, everybody.
So Sally is here representing the Peoria Rural Enterprise Zone. Am I saying that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And we have, in our research, what we found is there are kind of 4 parcels over by the Public Works building. So there's one that the existing robot company uses. There's the Public Works building. There's a track along the railroad. And then there's another small little section and I think it's the small section that was not in. Is that correct? So the other 3 were in the Peoria Rural Enterprise Zone. The one little other parcel was not. We want to have all 4 of those in case we ever sell that Public Works property, that all of that then is eligible for the benefits from PREZ, which is predominantly getting your sales tax back off any construction materials that are purchased. Did I say that correct? Okay. And so we're not the only one that are adding things to the PREZ. There are Peoria County
substitute.
Oh,
Peoria
just
County
us in Peoria County.
at this time.
And there's a whole process that we have to go through to do that. And Sally has been the one working hard to make that happen with all the moving parts. And she's with us tonight, and we have 2 votes, assuming that we want to bring that one last parcel in.
Well, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak tonight. I will stand up to address it, and I do mean a real big thank you, because as Brian alluded, we have had a lot of moving parts with the different communities and the changes in the elected officials in that. So essentially the change is primarily for the boundary amendment of that parcel that Brian mentioned, and then there are 11 parcels out on Kickapoo Edwards Blacktop by I-74. There's a bit of potential development that's going to be occurring out there. So that was one of the county board had requested to be brought in. Along that lines, there's also been a request to the Brimfield School District, which encompasses that area, to see if they will waive their portion of the property tax abatement for that, for any development that occurs in their boundary, not just that area, but anything that's in the enterprise zone that's in the Brimfield School District's boundaries. Illinois Valley, Chillicothe, does participate on their school district portion being waived for their district. This is a note there. So that is a change that I wanted to call out. The other changes have been mostly just consistency. There's a kind of a sister Peoria urban enterprise zone that incorporates West Peoria, Bellevue, Bartonville, Peoria. So when they first were implemented, there were some nuances. And so I just, with the Peoria County State's Attorney Office, just kind of made those consistent, because I administer both and just got to be a little bit wonky at times. So as Brian also pointed out, it's a process. So it's kind of like the Musketeers, one for all for one. And so I will be leaving here, going to Elmwood and Princeville tonight. And then I got Chillicothe and the Peoria Exec Committee, and then the full board May, I think it's the 9th. So that'll wrap it up. I will assemble a package. I'll go down to Springfield. We work with Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. They certify it because there's criteria, eligibility in the census tracts, like downsizing of a company's unemployment, federal disasters, which everybody gets that one because of COVID. So those are kind of some eligibility. So it looks to redevelop areas of underutilized, in this case, or opportunities for development. So, and then the sales tax on the building materials, the property tax abatement, and building permit are the local incentives. The state has some, like an investment tax credit that a large entity, or utility tax. Some of the bigger companies, like down in Mapleton, utilize a utility tax exemption. But that's kind of a good summary, and I'll entertain any questions if you have any. And I believe Brian's done an excellent job. You've got all the map of Hammond City that has the enterprise zone boundaries on your,
in your packet, you have
right,
two-
and your website.
Oh yeah, we do have the
Yeah,
on our
and
website.
the parcels that are in, because that's good for you to know. So if you're talking to any, commercial, industrial, manufacturing, but then also residential. Chillicothe and IBC has actually used it to spur some new homes in the last 4 or 5 years. So that also is an eligible industry or zoning classification. But yeah, the map that Brian alluded to in the packet is the map of the existing zone with the proposed additions highlighted in that. That's on the Peoria County GIS system that I work with.
Can you speak to the 2 documents that are in the packet?
I will. So one is an intergovernmental agreement that ties all of the 4 units of government, 4 communities and the county together. And basically it is a mirror of the individual ordinances that the communities pass. So communities have the ordinance in place, the intergovernmental agreement ties the parties together with the same rules, if you will, and the requirements on that. And those documents will go down, like I said, to Springfield for review, certification. It's not a approve or deny. to certification, and then they come back to the Peoria County Clerk's office for recording, recorder's office. And I will get you like the master, I have a master signature page for the intergovernmental agreement because everybody's got to sign that. So I'll be circulating that around. It's top one. And I'll get it back to your clerk.
And the other's the amendment.
That's right, they're both the amendments. So the intergovernmental agreement is a revised amendment, and the ordinance is a revised amendment.
Okay.
It's amendment number 2.
Any order that we need to vote on them?
I would write it in the, I think there were the 2 votes that were suggested, right?
Yeah, I had the
Yeah.
Amendment.
amendment first and the intergovernmental agreement second.
Amendment to the ordinance and then the intergovernmental agreement.
So probably let's do the ordinance first.
And
And
then,
then we'll do the inter.
and there were some changes, right, that we've acknowledged
Those have been
since there was
updated in the
packets and that, and then the typo on the name for the mayor of Chillicothe is, there was an E left off. So I think the vote needs to reflect with the
I updated that.
everything, okay,
Everybody's got updated.
all right, just want to be transparent.
So, what's the ordinance number?
Should be 040, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, what you have in front of you is the ordinance. The Village of Hannah City be ordinance 23-04-01.
Oh, we had a resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
2023 amendment to the Rural Peoria Enterprise Zone designating ordinance with the Village of Hannah City and its intergovernmental agreement. As Sally stated, this is so we can get these properties added. So I was reading something.
Sorry.
Any further question, or actually, I'll entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Johnson, second by Sidak. Any further discussion?
We do need a roll call, right? That's what Bill said.
So we'll roll call it. Weaver's here. Miller.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Sidak.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries. We vote on the amendment. That's what I don't understand.
It's an intergovernmental
Amendment to the
agreement.
intergovernmental agreement. It has, the amendment reflects the new legal boundary and PIN numbers, thanks to more.
And also the Rural Peoria Enterprise Zone Intergovernment Agreement as amended and restated. Fred probably remembers this. This was back from December 2015.
I actually think I saw a signature.
Yeah, I did too.
So basically, all you're doing is updating the intergovernmental agreement that we approved back in 2015.
The signed agreement originally went into effect 12/22/2015 in the Peoria Urban Enterprise Zone, which was approved by the state of Illinois in 2015, and went into effect January 2017. So I will entertain a motion to approve the amendment and restated document for the Rural Peoria Enterprise Zone Intergovernmental Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Johnston, second by Pearson. Any further discussion? Roll call it. Pearson,
Yes.
Sidak,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
motion carries.
So Sally, Denise knows everything.
Yeah. she
Well,
can just get
actually,
these 3
yeah.
signatures. I can get the other ones later, like the certified copies and that.
Okay.
I will coordinate with her.
Okay.
and get
Because
that
she
out.
needs
She has-
multiple copies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she'll sign one.
And the office hours are like 9 to 1, right? 9 to 1.
Yeah. I'll just coordinate with you.
I'll just get them done to it, so you can pick them up anytime.
Do I need to date these?
On the, not the intergovernmental, or, wait, sorry, yeah, that one, yes, and then the other one,
It's the 18th, right?
yeah, 18. The other two documents below there for your signature, you also need to date, and those are the application. One is to add the territory, and then there was a technical correction when they did the first ordinance and legal description. The county person that did it left off a PIN number, so it was included in the legal, but that's just it's called technical correction. Okay. So, yeah. Certified copies.
Okay.
So you got a sheet that says certified copies of what you do.
I thought you needed the 2 copies of this one.
Correct.
Oh, you need 2
I
copies.
didn't know which one you had in your hands.
Oh.
So
So this one, I'm just waiting for you to send it back.
that signature page. Okay. So this is the one you will sign and attest with your seal that you will sign
Mhm.
the date. And you make copies with the
Yeah.
full.
Yeah.
And then what do you do, like a certification sheet? Okay. I can send you something. Do you
Okay.
use that? And then so you can do that later.
Okay.
I'll send you one.
Okay.
Yep. Be glad to.
Anything else, Sally?
That is it. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's nice to see you.
Quick commercial, Sally and her husband on what's formerly called Booties, now the Kickapoo.
So yeah, he's the original.
Stop and have a-
So it's open.
Well, and right now it's just the community bar. So this is my place to retire from being operating as a working in his place he started 27 years ago. And he loves it. So yes, please stop
And
in.
an operator engineer, right?
He worked last with Pitco, but he was with River City Construction.
Thank you, Sally.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right,
so
thank
much.
you very much. Bye-bye. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks.
Everybody should have a copy of our April 4th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as submitted from the meeting.
I have a motion by Johnson. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Pearson. Any further discussion, corrections, adds, changes? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Miss Cassandra,
Yes,
good report.
nothing out of the ordinary.
Sure.
Any questions?
Sure. It's in my hand info.
Exactly.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report and pay all outstanding bills.
So moved.
By Johnson, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Pearson. Any further discussion? Yeah. that's what I'm doing. So roll call it. Sidak,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miller, Pearson,
Yes.
motion carries. Anything else on the treasurer's report? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lott, engineer's report.
Not a whole lot, just continue to work with Brian and Cassandra on all the different documents required for the EPA to chew on over the next year. Appreciate you guys, the things that you're providing, and we'll continue on that path.
Did you get your questions answered on the?
I just had the one question left about whether or not, because we had asked you at the last meeting, whether or not we needed to put the financials in that specific spreadsheet.
I specifically asked you to answer.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Did she?
No, that's okay.
She told me yes.
Well, she sent me an email back regarding the ones that I sent her directly.
Okay.
but I didn't get any response about that specific question.
I think the answer is yes. I think I would end down that road
Okay,
if you can.
okay.
And if it's paid, we can maybe arm wrestle a little bit with their form.
Okay. I will work on it.
You around tomorrow?
Yes, I will be here.
That's all I have for my report.
Okay. Thank you. Miss Abby, Turner's report.
So I am going to talk about the IEPA loan documents on my end. It's kind of lengthy, so bear with me, and a little bit detailed. So the board will need to pass an ordinance that will authorize the village to borrow the funds from the IEPA. And once we have like the specific dollar amounts and everything, we can plug those into the ordinance and it'll be ready to go for a vote. And then once that is done, the ordinance and a notice will need to be published in the newspaper, so the Peoria Journal-Star. And that needs to happen within 10 days of its passage. And I've talked with Brian a little bit about this. Our office can do that. We double checked with the Peoria Journal-Star, and it'll take about 3 business days to get that published once they receive it. After that's published, there's a 30-day waiting period on your end. You just kind of sit back and wait. And during this time, it's called a backdoor referendum, if that interests anybody. The public will have an opportunity to file a petition with the board that will require a specific number of signatures in order for it to be, filed. The signatures, I believe, have to be 89 registered voters. They have to sign it. But basically, if this petition gets all the proper signatures and it gets submitted to the board, the ordinance and the loan will be put up for a referendum or a vote at the next general election. So the public will vote on it. And if no petition is filed within that 30 days of the notice being published, then all is good. Things can move forward without the referendum. And I can also complete everything on my end. So the attorney opinion letter, all that good stuff. So that's the process. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Abby, not for you, but just a general question. So what do we have to do to finalize a number, right? Because that's the step to kick this thing off. I mean, we know before we were talking 2 million, but is that still the right number, or do we make one up? Do we say?
That's a fair question. Abby, do I have to have the decimal places right? And to the nearest dollar or nearest $1 million? What do you think?
From my understanding, it's kind of like a maximum amount that the village can borrow, if that makes sense. So if anything, I would probably overestimate it just on your end. That way the board's already approved a certain dollar amount, like up to the maximum possible. But I would try to keep it as reasonable and near as to what you would need as possible. But definitely overestimate. It doesn't have to be to the exact decimal though, I don't think.
So is 2.5 a good number?
No. And the reason I say that is we've been getting some numbers in from some others, and they're coming in on the higher end. Some of it's not yet made public yet. Hopefully it would be by the next meeting. So I think in the next couple of weeks we could work to revise that estimate, and then maybe even share some recent bids in the area for some similar work.
Okay, so the assignment is for you to get us a revised number to work with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I suspect it will go up from what you've been thinking for both reasons. One, because it's the climate. Two, because we want to be conservative in what you pass. Consider what you consider.
Okay. Thank you.
You need anything else in them?
I think, is that it, Abby?
Thank you very much. Brian, that's on to you.
Okay, so you've got financials in your deck. I'm going to go through it fairly quickly because we do have a lot on the agenda tonight. The first slide shows the March core fund. So basically a break-even month, income of $127,872, expenses of $128,011. There is some goofy stuff in there I explained, but basically lost $139 for the month of March. If you look at the next slide, then look at general unemployment, water, sewer, garbage, each of the areas in the core fund. On the general side, our income was $5,000 above what we budgeted. But we did have an expense. It says an accounting expense, but I think it was actually a software expense for Locus. We also had $6,000 of a missing police protection invoice. If you remember, we had one of those that was waiting to come in. So those one-offs would have put us positive. The other thing we did is when we created the new accounts for this year with water and sewer and we separated them, what we didn't do is separate the capital that was coming out of water and move it to sewer. Does that make sense? So all of the capital was coming out of the water account all year. So we transferred into water $27,500 out of sewer. So to make that right, to get that right before the end of the year. So that kind of made those numbers throw it off a little bit. So other than that, it was a fairly normal month. MFT, I'm not going to go through a bunch there. Income's about what it has been, very few expenses. TIF, virtually no activity. BDD, $10,000, almost $11,000 of income, very few expenses. So the monthly summary, again, pretty much a break-even month. So we didn't have a whole lot of things to report there. Year-to-date, then, year-to-date core funds. So this includes everything that we've transferred and all of that stuff all year long. So year-to-date, we're $286,293 to the good. If you take out the $35,000 worth of unspent ARPA funds, that would be $251,293 to the good. So about $250,000 to the good through 11 months of the year. And then if you look at the next page, it shows the breakdown of that. And if you remember water and sewer, we transferred dollars back and forth at the beginning of the year, and we had a lot of one-time expenses. We bought the skid steer and so forth. But that year-to-date number is still pretty sound. Year-to-date MFT, so we're actually a little bit above. Our income has overcome our expenses this year, so that's good. TIF, we're going to do better than break even this year for the first time, about $2,500. So that's good news. Knocking on wood over there. Year-to-date BDD, we're $154,000 to the good year-to-date. But we didn't have a ton of projects or expenses this next year. That'll be different. So if you take out the capital and you take out the ARPA, we're at year-to-date positive $97,293 just out of the operating portion of the core funds. And if you correspond that over to the cash sheet, you see the green column. So in the operating account, we're $103,388 better cash flow positive in the operating account this year. So that's...
Don't forget the 45 cents.
Yeah. So that's good. And then for the month, checking was cash flow positive year to date, and checking's cash flow positive. Monthly, the savings was negative, but that's because we moved that $39,000 of the sewer money from savings to checking to cover that expense. And year to date, we're cash flow positive across the board. So, and on the cash sheet, I highlighted anything that was negative. One other point I would make is we did decide to combine the lagoon and sewer into one account in Locus. So next year, cash flow wise, it'll be better because it's going to be picking up some property tax for the lagoon side in there. It'll balance that out. So I would guess next month will be pretty good. I don't want to steal your thunder, Ryan, but we got a small bill from Illinois American Water because of, I think, 28 days or 27 days in the billing period. Plus, they were awful shut off for a while, working on some stuff, so I think we benefited from that. And then this will be the first month where we build out the new rates, and so I think that number is going to be higher. And what we're going to pay out is going to be lower. So I think the variance on the water for that month will be good. We'll probably give it back the following month, but at least for the last month at the end of the year, we'll probably be in good shape there. Good year, I think.
Thank you, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I guess guess I'll follow up with Mr. Chervali's stuff since he's not here. We did pay off the IEPA loan that's been paid off. We transferred our funds to Illinois, transfer funds to the Illinois fund. In the packet, everybody should have a policy. This is something we have to have in place for doing any type of investments within the village.
So Abby wrote up an investment policy based upon what she saw in some other places, and then we also have to approve the investment policy, and then we have to have an ordinance adopting the investment policy. So we have to have 2 votes. Anything you want to cover on those, Abby, or no?
And so if anyone has questions, though, I can take questions about it.
Ordinances are only 2 members, right? Ordinances are only 2 members, right?
Yeah, it's got 4.
We're just crossing.
So basically, checking stays with Morton Community or Community Banks and Savings. All of the savings we move to the Illinois fund.
Did they post that or did they?
And we should have our first idea of what kind of monthly money we're making at the end of this month, right? Did we get it in at the very beginning of the month? Remember when we put it in?
We put it in around the beginning of the month. I think it was like the 3rd.
So what, like the full month?
Right.
But by statute, we have to have an investment policy, which is why we're here.
So I will entertain a motion to allow me to sign this Village of Hannah City investment policy. And where was it at? And do we have the, there it is.
Do we adopt it then sign it?
So what?
Are those, is that in the correct order on the agenda or?
You approve it and then you adopt.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the Village of Hannah City investment policy.
Second. Motion by Pearson, second by Sidak. Any further discussion? I guess we'll just roll call since we're doing that on everything else. Johnson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yeah.
Pearson,
Yes.
Sidak.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next item is the ordinance to adopt the investment policy that we just voted on. It would be ordinance 23-04-02, an ordinance adopted an investment policy. Village of Hannah City.
I will make a motion, we adopt an ordinance adopting an investment policy.
Second. Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. I'll just roll call it again. Miller,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Sidak,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Abby, anything specific we need to do with those now that they're approved, or?
No, just make sure that the investment policy itself is attached to the ordinance wherever you publish
Wow.
things, yeah.
Do I
And
need to
it should be labeled as Exhibit A as well.
vote on that adopting the investment policy? Okay.
No.
Did not know if that took majority or. that is it for finance. Planning and zoning, Mr. Johnson.
No report.
Easy. Senator sewer, Mr. Pearson.
Nothing to report, sanitary sewer.
Water, Mr. Pearson.
Water, I've got some numbers for you.
All right, we like numbers.
You ready? Zero shutoffs, but a total of $3,895.77.
What is the, you said zero shut-offs and what?
$3,895.77.
That's for the shut-offs, for zero.
That's what it says.
How many shut-offs are on the
23.
Okay, so we have 23
Okay.
shut-offs.
Zero actual.
There
But
has
yes.
to be some,
23.
maybe zero new shut-offs. Okay. I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zero level pay. And one foreclosure for $313.77. Approximate gallons sold, 2,091,373. I did want to ask, have we got any official feedback from people now that the new billing went out? I saw there was some rumblings on Facebook, but
Yeah, some people had no idea that you were raising rates that much.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Water department. I told them direct all questions to you.
Well, I didn't get any phone calls. So.
It was nice though. The Hannah City Happenings moderator showed that where it would have been pinned 3 months prior.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. They were pretty quick with that to say this was talked about a long time ago and put out there for everybody to see.
And some other folks had weighed in on that as well. So
I was having breakfast one morning.
I don't think we've gotten any new phone calls or.
We've had a couple, but nothing recently even.
I've seen a couple people say that, like, basically, take it, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Compared to what they pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some.
I didn't look
yeah.
to see where they were from, but I did see.
Yeah, you guys are still cheaper than
Yeah.
wherever I'm at. Yeah,
I've seen a couple people say that.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a morning discussion one morning. I was having breakfast at a local establishment, and it was brought up to me and asked me why I raised the rates, and I said, "Well, I didn't." I said, "Illinois American raised
No,
the
you
rates."
did.
No, I
We did.
The board did.
Yeah, but we had to raise them in response. So yeah,
Right. And I said, that's still a lot cheaper than some other people paying. And someone chipped in from Farmington, and they were like, "Yeah," he goes, "My rates are like twice as much." So
yeah.
Yeah, because in Farmington, they raised them,
Well,
and then they raised them again.
Farmington
This
sold
time.
out to Illinois American Water too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they didn't raise the rates for 3 years, and then after 3 years, they raised them, and then they just raised them with the same 42% increase.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing I did find encouraging though is seeing other residents, say, "Hey, wait, they did communicate."
Yeah.
And
They were way out in front of this. You knew this a long time ago.
yeah, I think once you start to see other people within the community, making our case for us, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I've also we had the visit from the EPA, and it was pretty much as we expected. We need a new water tower. We need to find the leaks. And there was also a comment about the nitrification action plan. So I know Brian had drafted a response that addressed all three of those. Well, we've got plans for a water tower, and we're trying for the loan for it. We get our water from Illinois American, and they've got an action plan for that, as do we. So that's basically negated that. And then the distribution system, we've got the guys actually coming on the 24th and 25th to do the testing for the leaks. So hopefully we're able to find some stuff on there. So has that been sent to them already?
It is not. Tomorrow it's on my list to talk to Jim, and then Brandon and I talked a little bit today about the nitrification plan and exactly what we have to do. Our situation's a little bit different because we're buying finished water, and so we have to understand. basically we're at their mercy, right, on those things. But we are testing, and we bought all the testing equipment, the kits, and all that kind of stuff. But I need to figure out just exactly what I need to say in the letter to make sure that we don't stub our toes. So hopefully we'll get that done tomorrow and get the letter out before the end of the week.
All right. I think that's all I have, sir.
Did you have anything on the buildings and ground?
Nope.
Streets and alleys?
Nope.
CEDC, Mr. Sidak.
All right, so the CEDC met last week on Tuesday, and we have brought a few recommendations to the board with reference to the redevelopment programs and the sign project. We had some really good discussion about what we were looking for in these projects, and we pretty much used up all the budget for them. But we got some really good projects here. I wanted to bring your attention to the Zane's Auto Service section here. The council pretty much decided that they wanted to help out Zane's Auto Service with their plan, but their total budget for their project was upwards of, I think, $60,000. But we still wanted to help them out and help everybody else out. And so Brian had a really good idea about doing something outside of the commercial redevelopment program. And it drafted a very nice little development agreement proposal here. Brian, could you speak to that?
Sure. Let me back up real quick. So if you find these two spreadsheets, there's two spreadsheets in there that show you all of the projects. The first one with the blue line at the bottom is the commercial one, and the other one is the residential one. And so on the commercial side, as Zach said, we had 8 projects. I think the meeting went 2 hours. We had a lot of really good discussion about what was happening. You can see each of the projects there with the descriptions. I didn't print off a copy of every project for all of you, but if you want to see them, I've got them here. There's a specific one that you want to see. To Zach's point, what we did is we decided, if you look at Zane's project, it actually has a quantifiable return. They're putting in a new bay, and I think they estimated, I don't know if I should say this publicly or not, they estimated a decent about a 10% return on their gross sales as a result of that. And so as a result of that, I thought, well, we could go just to the BDD dollars, which is what this sheet shows right here. The Zane's Auto Service Developmental Agreement Proposal. So we could pull it out of the BDD grant program, and we could do a separate developmental agreement with them, and we could still give them the $15,000 out of our current reserves. Well, we have $226,592 in our current reserves, so we could use $15,000 of those dollars. And then we could also offer them a portion of the incremental TIF and BDD money. The last time we talked, I think this group's opinion was is we offered half and kept half of each of those things as a kind of our baseline moving forward, then that would make sense. So then over 5 years, we did that for 5 years, 2025 to 2029. 2024 would be the assessment year. So they'd get an additional $3,260 in TIF, additional $2,500 in BDD, an additional $5,760, taking the total to almost $21,000 rather than just the $15,000. Their total project cost was $65,750, so we'd be covering about a third of the total cost. And obviously, if their sales are better than that, they're going to get more back, right? As are we. So I guess the first question is does the board? Well, the CED's recommendation was to pull Zane's out of the existing program, offer them a separate redevelopment agreement with these details. You also have in your packet, this comes to us from the economic development team that works with Jacob and Klein, so it shows each year, pencils out all the numbers, and then we even went so far as to draft a development agreement with them that has those details in it, so I have that here, if that's something that you all decide that you want to do or don't want to do. You also have a former letter in your packet that's signed. It comes from Zach, but it's got all of the recommendations in it. So the first one is to do that for Zane's, and then the second one is to approve what we're calling, I've labeled them 23, meaning the year, commercial C 1 through 8. But we would approve projects 1 through 6. So the first one is Rachel Sauter redoing that brick building, the studio, doing the, what do they call it?
Tuck pointing.
Tuck pointing and putting in new windows, and you can see the description there. Gills is going to paint and patch a portion of the parking lot. Hogtroff's putting in a new parking lot overlayment. Sportsman's Club is doing some painting, putting in a new door and some landscaping. Honegger is paving his entire parking lot. And then the Hannah City Mall is, they're repainting the building all to an earth tone to match the apartment building, repainting that hood above the top that's kind of all beat up, a dark earth tone, doing some sealing on the parking lot, and then there's one apartment that needs like a little patio slab out in back. But if you see over here if you add all those things up, it comes to the total amount spent would be $216,246.71, and we would be reimbursing $74,767.50, and our cap is $75,000. So we would be under our cap by $232.50. But that means we do Zane's separate, and we approve all of those.
All the green.
No, the yellow would be approved too. The reason that
Because
yellow
Zane's
is yellow,
yellow.
the reason the yellow is yellow is if you decide you don't want to do Zane's separate, then the recommendation is to pull out them all and just use that $15,000 for Zane's. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So they kind of rated and ranked all of the individual projects.
Wasn't that parking lot at the mall recently done?
It is done. They're just resealing it, so they're just resealing the.
That was part of why it's at number 5.
Yeah.
They feel like it already got redone, so it doesn't really need.
And just so you understand the background, there's a few things. One is all of these projects, when I get them, I scan them, and then I send them to Gwen Crawford, and she approves that their back taxes are paid, that all of the criteria to meet the BDD stuff, and tells me, yes, they're blessed to move forward in terms of the projects. You can't, unless something is ineligible for funding, you can't pick and choose, because we would have liked to have taken the painting of that out, right, and just spent the money on the painting, but the way that's set up is the projects are either all in or not all in.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. If you could just say, we don't want to strip your parking lot, we'll paint your building.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Next, I was wondering if that patio would even qualify to be part of this.
We had that discussion, and she said, is it visible from any street? And it is. It's from that side street, yeah. So we checked. They're very thorough. They want to make sure that these dollars are spent correctly. And so we had a lot of discussion about each of the individual projects, but she ultimately ended up blessing them all. So
Love the fact we're getting rid of hopefully getting rid of the 2 gravel parking lots that sit right on the highway. No more egg parking lots on the state highway, washing fines and gravel down to the sewer.
the only other application we got was for the Hannah City tap, and there's a couple of discussion points there. They've redone a lot, the foundation. I mean, they put a lot into that building to bring it back up to code. She's done a really nice job. But the parking or the sidewalk got tore up along Hannah Street. And I guess technically she'd be required to put that back anyway. But her project was about us spending some money to help her replace that. So that would be one debate, whether or not that we wanted to do that or not do that. But the other issue is the person that turns in the application has to be the owner of the property, or they have to have written permission from the owner of the property. Well, that's a unique situation because her mother has passed, and so that's still in probate, and so she's technically not eligible. So she's working on getting written proof. So we thought that's certainly somebody that we would want to help if we could, because of the work that she's done to bring that building up. I think there was some thought process that the sidewalks probably as not appealing as perhaps fixing the roof and doing some other things. Maybe there's a way to combine all that into a separate redevelopment agreement with them.
Like a Zane's type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we got $200 to put towards the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's right. So the way the CEDC doesn't have any authority other than they can make recommendations to you all. At the end of the day, you fund what you don't fund, or what you don't want. The other key point is at this point, you're not actually, my understanding is you're not actually approving the funding. You're approving that we move forward with the projects. But there's another sheet in here at the very back that shows next steps, just to help you understand what happens. Do you have that in there? Yeah, so if you all decide, yep, we want to move forward with all of these commercial projects and we approve Zanes or whatever, Zanes would be separate. But those that are in this program, what I would do is I'd have a kickoff meeting with all of the grant participants or award winners. And I remind them, I want to make sure we have clarification on the agreement, what they have to do and don't do, and how much they're going to get reimbursed so there's no confusion moving forward. We give them the building permit, which we waive the building permit fee, but they'd have to turn in a building permit. Once the building permit is approved, then they have 180 days from the approval of that building permit to complete the work, so 6 months. After the 6 months, we'll send our inspector out with the permit to compare the work that they say they were going to do and the work that they did happen, and is it all within code. At that point, they would give us a copy of the paid invoice. And they would have paid it in full. Then we'll work with the folks at Jacob and Klein and the Economic Development Group on reimbursement, the process for reimbursement. Then you guys would vote to say, yes, the project's done, it's been approved, it was within the timeline, meets code, all that kind of stuff, release the dollars. And then you'd vote on it at that point. Cassandra would cut a check and we'd release the dollars. And then the other thing I'm going to ask for them is to become advocates for the program. Obviously, if they're getting money, I want them to know and understand the programs, and they can be out telling other people so that the misunderstandings that we have we have more voices overcoming that.
And there's no catch.
Yep.
Literally free money.
Yep.
You spend the money and have the job done, and you get the money back.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Hannah City Tap was the only other one that applied for something.
I did get one other one yesterday. And that's one of the things that's different from us. A lot of towns are first come, first serve. And so Gwen was adding up the money once we got to the 75 grand. She goes, well, you can't take any more applications. I'm like, yeah, we can, because we chose not to be first come, first serve. We wanted to do it based upon merit and make a decision of which projects had the greatest benefit. There's another project here about they want to do a sign, and it's $750 is all. James E. Rinflush. What is that?
Next to Sauter's place, that little duplex office building there.
What's in there?
He's in insurance, I think.
So they've got
Right next to Zane's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Kind of yellow or beige.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this hasn't been to Gwen or anything at this point. So like I said, I just got it, but that's the only.
How much was it for?
$750.
Oh, if they're approved, they could get like a third of it covered. Yeah, $232 left in the thing.
Yeah, and we can do that. We can offer a lower amount.
I mean, honestly, since it's so low,
So I'll tackle that one. The CEDC's not seen that or anything. So at this point, I think the questions before us are, do we want to do Zane's separate? And if so, are we in a position where you want to vote on the...
and Zane's would have separate rules, then obviously, because they're not going to have maybe go.
They're not going to be following the grant program.
Yeah, they won't follow the grant program. So
it would be a redevelopment agreement like we have with the coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Their time frame may be a little bit different, and then their inspection won't happen at the very end to make sure they did all the work. It'll be periodically, since they'll be brand new building, plumbing, electrical, everything like that. And you need to mention to them too, they're going to need a site plan because they're commercial development. So it's already, I imagine it's going to go on the back of the building. It's already 100% pavement, so we're not, it's.
And I've got the whole thing I can show you. I don't know.
They'll need something similar to what the robotics place had. Just was a couple sheets you get, one or two sheets, one sheet, yeah, exactly. So something very basic. So just yeah, exactly. It's already not grass or anything, so it's already 100% runoff. It'll still be 100% runoff. So yeah.
So I guess the questions for the group is, do we want to do Zane's separate? And if so, do we want to vote on the redevelopment or the development agreement? And then do we want to approve projects 1 through 6 on the commercial side and begin and proceed with those projects?
I'm for taking the Zach's group's recommendations as given, basically.
It's called CDC.
The CDC, I agree.
Not Zach's group.
Put some respect on your name.
We talked about changing it to Zach's group.
And then everybody threatened to quit, so
But yeah, I'm all for taking the CDC's recommendations. I like them. I like it. I like spending all the money we had in it just to show, especially making a big splash the first year and spending out the budget, putting $100,000
And there's some,
out immediately.
I mean, there's some core businesses in town, right? So you're talking about Gills, you're talking about Hoggers, you're talking about Hog Trough, you're talking about, I mean,
And huge improvements. I mean, some people don't think parking lots are a big deal, but like I said, I hate the fact we have 2 gravel lots right on the highway. It just kind of, having those both paved will be great for everything. Multiple
Where's
reasons.
the other girl?
Both Hog Trough and Hogger are both gravel.
Oh,
Well, not all the hog crop is.
Some of it is.
Some of it is.
Yeah.
But most
oh,
of
are
it-
they doing?
they're doing a
The CDC.
asphalt overlay, I guess
Yeah.
is what they're doing.
And Hunter will be all concrete. He's already done some concrete on his own, but this will finish him off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My company, insurance down there, redoing their building. So
Oh, yeah. Without any assistance whatsoever. Yeah.
Whatever that is on the roof, that looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to
Fred, is there, last time when you did the redevelopment agreement, is there anything special in voting on that, or do you just entertain a motion to approve it? Okay.
Yep.
And then I guess on the other projects, we would entertain a motion to approve.
We've never done those before, so.
I guess I would say we would approve projects 23C1 through projects 23C6.
And then-
how were they assigned the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
I did them as they came in. You can see the rankings though on the outside in the
Yeah.
comments. Yeah.
But we'll want to keep something for documentation.
Well, I'll make a motion. We enter into a development agreement with Zane's Auto Service. Knock off number 1.
So I have a motion by Johnson.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the recommendations and now a motion.
Huh? Now, this is a motion to enter into the developmental agreement with Zane's Auto Service.
Number 1 on the agenda.
Yeah.
And it'd be an ordinance, so it's ordinance number
Yeah.
23 dash whatever.
0403.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Sidak. Discussion, Denise?
Yeah.
He's going to say, now is there any significant discussion for it?
No, I just am not sure where we're at here because he had,
Number 1, sorry.
We were talking about the grant recommendations and everything, and then
So I made a motion,
Okay,
we
so-
entered a development agreement, so I'm basically following the CEDC board's recommendations, saying we pull Zane's out, do basically the same thing we did with the coffee can, we do a separate developmental agreement,
Okay.
utilizing TIF and BDD
And
money,
that agreement is in the deck.
pulling them out
I
of the grant
know.
program.
I'm sorry, I just
You're good.
am like, am I doing 2 separate
Yes.
to approve?
One will be to approve Zane's, one will be approve the commercial projects.
Okay,
23 or 23C1 through 23C6.
so we're doing Zane's first.
Discussion on Zane's is going on now, it's been motion made in the second, so significant discussion can happen on Zane's.
so discussion. Everybody understands what this is for, what Zane is, Mr. Odewald's doing.
Yeah, it's basically an expansion of the existing building going north, which would be behind the building, behind 116, moving towards the old church.
Give them the opportunity to house an extra tech, take in more work,
Yeah.
do work quicker.
Estimated 10% increase in sales. And if you look at this sheet, this was prepared by the Economic Development Group. So this shows you So that light blue shows you what their share of the
Real estate tax.
real estate tax and the BDD dollars would be for those 5 years.
How does this compare and contrast to what we did for coffee cans? It's fairly similar.
No. Well, it's 50%. It's a split for the 5 years with.
Rather than
Nice.
100% for
We
5 years.
we redid the coffee cans. They're getting 100% for until their first bucket's full instead of a back and forth, and then the village gets the rest. We made it more in their favor eventually because of some of the problems they had getting started with COVID and everything. So this is just a 5-year even split, which is why you're just seeing $57.60 extra on top of the $15,000 grant. So giving them to bump them up to $27.60. So
Yeah, the whole philosophy behind this is that the CEDC wanted to put a focus on not just bringing in new businesses into town, but like supporting and developing our already long-established businesses.
Yeah, this is great.
And the big difference between these other projects is the other projects are going to have some inherent value, right, in terms of, but in terms of actually increasing a sales dollar that's quantifiable, that was projected,
yeah,
this one's different. I mean, they're talking about a 10% gross revenue increase as rolled in the
and
additional
added
day.
employees too.
Yeah,
which,
and employee, which is.
you know, I mean, doesn't specifically benefit the village, but in general benefits, have more people working in town. So
Yeah, buying stuff at Casey's, getting gas, going to lunch, eating, so.
Around town.
I have a motion by Johnson, second by Pearson, second by Sidak, sorry. Any further discussion? Am I back on Miller? I have to ask too, Fred.
No, Kirsten.
With Pearson,
Yes.
Sidak,
Yes.
Johnson,
yes,
Miller,
yes.
motion carried.
You want to do the residential? You want me to? Is that-
Well, we
Oh,
need,
I'm sorry. We got to do commercial. Forgive me.
Hey,
Shut up. I got it.
you're confusing Denise.
I am very confused,
Yes, I'm-
because is this two separate ordinances? Don't we have
No,
to
it's
roll?
all one ordinance.
It's all one.
Yeah, we haven't talked about residential yet. There's
Well, let's finish out commercial, and then we'll go to residential.
I don't like this. I don't like this one bit.
What do you want?
Just the wording is not exactly the same.
Make a motion.
If we can get you in contact with Gwen, we can work that out.
Because this has BDD on this one and it doesn't have BDD on this side. And
Minor details.
I know. It's a bird. There you go.
All right, so this would be 23C1 through 23C6. C1 is the mall, C2 is Gills in the warehouse, C3 is Honiger, C4 is the Hog Trough, C5 is the Sportsman's Club, and C6 is the Rachel Sauter studio, brick studio right there on 116.
Oh yeah, and I guess the way just flipping through the Zanes thing, even though we're already past that, I guess it's not to exceed 57.60. So if the predictions are conservative over the 5 years, they may have the money quicker than that. Even there's a chance it could be done after 4, even if the BDD picks up steam, ready, or he picks up steam selling his stuff.
So I will entertain a motion for approval of the commercial. Now, where's my sheet?
Commercial grants.
Commercial grant recommendations by the CDC, which were project numbers 23C1, 23C2, 23C3, 23C4, 23C5, and 23C6.
So moved.
second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Any further discussion? Roll call it. Sidak,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we also have the residential recommendations. A lot of these were just cosmetic improvements to a couple houses. A good deal of them were on the 116 corridor, which was a big selling point to the CEDC. There are a couple in here you'll notice, project 23R7, 23R8. We are going to make those payments, those approvals, contingent on some additional quotes. There's a sentiment in the CEDC that, well, specifically for one of the members noticed that the estimate that the person applying for the grant, it was a little high from what the standards would be. It was like a tree removal, and the estimate was a little high. So that in project 23R8 we made contingent on a second quote just to make sure they weren't, like eyeballing us.
Looks like people on 3rd Street have been talking to each other.
Yeah, you can. There's other things running throughout these too. You have to pick those out yourself. But these are a lot of what siding, fences, windows.
Yeah.
Mainly.
I think the best project is the house there next to,
Oh yeah.
right next to Buzzkirk's.
Yeah. Which
Siding that.
They redid the roof structure and everything, and that'll kind of finish it off. And
But we're waiting on a second quote from them, and then the window replacement for R7.
And then we're still waiting on, for R6, we're still waiting on contractor bids.
Correct. So R6 at this point is not up for any vote because we've not received any contractor bids, and I've reached out twice and not gotten any response. So at this point, they're ineligible.
Yeah.
And then the 23R3 was the one. In order to get under the cap, we made two choices. One, the CEDC made two choices. One was to eliminate that project. And the reason for the elimination of that project, as you can see, is the windows were in the back of the house facing the alley, and the handrail for the deck was on the side of the house. So really there wasn't that much visibility. So that was the lowest ranked project on the residential side.
so how did the other office approve it then? It's just because it did face an alley and an alley's a public street, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So technically qualified, but.
it did. And then the other thing is, to Zach's point on the tree removal and trimming, is we can reduce projects if we want. We can't pick and choose portions of them. But on the tree service, we've reduced it by 55525, which is what got us to the exact cap. So if they want to do the trees trimming and removal, they can, but they're not going to get a full 80%, 75%. They're only going to get the 75% minus the 55525, which put us right at the cap. I looked back at the ones, Farmington has approved year over year, and these are very similar, I think, to the ones that they see. We probably actually have less trees than they did, more windows than they did. I'm more excited about the commercial projects, to be honest, than I am some of these, but still, it's the fact that we've got enough money to hit the cap and enough people know about it, and we're going to be able to move forward and help some folks. Is
Pretty quickly, too. I didn't know if that would come in that quick.
I honestly kind of like the window stuff because it will improve the look of the house, but also makes the house more energy efficient. So, in the long run,
Gives them more money to spend somewhere else.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, makes it more energy efficient. So it's kind of a double hit there.
I mean, if they want to upgrade something else on their own, so they have more money to do that. So what were the recommendations by the CEDC?
so go ahead, Zach.
The recommendations were projects 23R1, 23R2, 23R4, 23R5, and the last two are contingent on getting a second quote, 23R7, 23R8.
Are they actively trying to get a second quote?
I know 23R8 is. I've not heard back from 23R7. And I do have I've got another residential that I think that has come in that we could take a look at. I'm not sure we could afford the whole thing. It's a pretty big project. It's windows again. So we could plug and play if the CEDC wants to, if these folks don't come around and get their quote in.
So I will make a motion that we accept the CEDC's recommendations for the residential redevelopment projects.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Further discussion? Further discussion that 2 of those are contingent on getting second quotes.
How long do they have? Since there is more applications coming in, are we gonna tell them, get us something within a month, 30 days, or we're gonna consider the next one coming in for your share of the money, or?
Yeah, probably what I'll do is I'll reach out a third time to the one that hasn't responded and give them a date and say, if I haven't heard from you by this date, then we're going to move on to another project. The other one I've heard from, and they said they're going to give me something, and I believe them. So,
And basically they know too, because I can see some of these people having a contractor they want to go with, and they're worried about getting another bid that's going to come in lower, and they're going to be but they don't have to go with the low bid because they're not a public body. They just have to basically vet out that their bid is reasonable.
Correct.
And they know that, so they're not worried about turning in something lower and not having their friend do the work for them or something.
Correct.
So, okay.
Right, yeah, if they get one for $4,000, one for $5,000, they can still go with the $5,000 company because that's who they choose.
Yeah, they just have to, yeah, exactly. Because I'm assuming some of the people asking for this have a decent idea of where some of the bids are coming from, and
they do.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? We'll roll call that. Johnson?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes. And the final recommendation here is concerning our signs. And this little rendition of the changes we would like to make to the signs for a grand total of $4,380. Basically, this plan is to replace the wooden front with aluminum.
Yeah, and vinyl graphics.
Vinyl graphics. The CEDC, we had a very good discussion about your design philosophy, especially Pearson. They agree. They think this sign, and I myself think this sign could use some visual improvements as far as like the actual frame of it and the entire look of it. But we agreed that with all the hoops that you have to jump through with IDOT, this would be a good fix for now before we could focus on getting something a little more beautified. So they are recommending this to the board, but also with the intention that eventually they will give you another recommendation to basically change the whole look of the sign.
If you remember right, the monument signs didn't meet the breakaway requirements, so we couldn't do those. And then to do even something different, we had to open up the whole approval and permit process, which we might not have gotten approval for. I don't know. Was this a headache the last time?
Yes.
So basically, they said if you want to use the existing standards and change the insert that goes in them, you don't have to do anything, and you can light them, and you don't have to do anything to do that. So that's what we decided to do for now.
Because the signs are right on 116, the state requires certain
lot.
standards for their signs.
Yeah,
And that's why they've fallen over a couple times, because you can't put a wooden post in it because they have to be breakaway. So that's why we went with the vinyl, and that has created some problems. But IDOT has some very strict regulations since they are right on Route 116.
If it took you a while before to get approved, it will be longer now because manpower is at a premium there. Big deficiency at IDOT right now in every district, pretty much. So,
unless we move to more.
as I'm sure you guys know, some stuff just
You have to
dies.
get an agreement with the landlord or something to do something. But
Yeah, you have to move off right away when to go something bigger.
I think at the end of the day, the CEDC felt like it's not what we would really like to do, but it's better than what we have now, and it's a good step for the next several years. And it's $5,000.
Plus, it's a nice way to showcase the new logo. Also, just to reiterate, the CEDC thinks this is not going to be permanent, and this is just I guess, like a patch, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, like the picture, this isn't even the actual sign. They just took a picture and pasted it over the sign. I hope it doesn't look like an actual IDOT sign you'd see on the interstate, but it remains to be seen. So I will make a motion that we approve the CEDC's recommendation for this new signage. This is for all 4 signs in the village, for the total of $4,380.
Second. The motion by Steinak, second by Pearson. Any further discussion? Roll call it. Miller,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Steinak,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And as always, still looking for at-large members of the CEDC. So
How many do you need?
2. There are 2 slots. End of report.
Fred might make it. Yeah, I've got a couple of things for you.
They have to be in the village limits?
Yes.
I guess they do, yeah.
Be residents.
This is very cool stuff. So
We're very excited.
yeah, fun programs going on there. I think it's really going to help.
And the CEDC has really stepped up. You know, when we first were organizing it, we sort of, I think the tone I may have conveyed is like, you have to come here. But the representatives from all the taxing bodies are clearly very passionate about developing the community, and they're putting a lot of effort.
Like I said, we had 2 hours worth of discussion on the projects, and they didn't take it lightly.
Well, it benefits them, and the whole point is to, you know, get prices. Tide floats all ships, so I mean, yeah.
No, for something that's just getting started, like this is the first few projects. These are big things to kick off with. It's really cool.
Well, for a town our size to just kick $120,000 out into the wild that quick, it's pretty good, you know.
And again, publicly state thank you to those on the board and the former mayor and others who did the groundwork to put us in a place where we can offer those.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So tell the group thank you.
Okay, your next meeting.
Of Zach's group.
Zach's group.
We're still working. We'll bring that approval next time.
Administration, Mr. Miller.
May
They get arrested.
maybe we know. Well, I don't know. There was 10 calls, which I only got the 2nd through the 8th of April. I don't know what, they just didn't send me more or what. Some motor vehicle stop, overdose or poisoning on Elbert Court.
Wow.
Recovered stolen vehicle on Lakeshore. His neighborhood, I don't know.
What do you mean?
I said I was sorry.
Here, Fred, I got a question for you. It says INV follow-up.
Investigation follow-up. So they got a call about maybe a burglary or something. They're following up on it.
Motor vehicle property damage on Brad Court. Theft on Runkle. Cert papers, not my house for once. Abandoned vehicle. Suicide, maybe. Something like that. So that's about it. Fairly broad stuff.
And got copies for everybody.
I didn't. I gave it to them.
Oh,
But-
you didn't give me.
I didn't.
You don't need one.
Huh?
You don't need one.
I do.
I gave you one because you gotta pay them. Oh yeah, I forget. You have to get paid too.
Yeah, there's a little thing.
I was just thinking of them. Sorry.
So everybody should have a copy of the attendance report from November until this meeting. Please check your attendance.
motion we approve the board attendance report.
Motion by Johnson,
You've been at every meeting. Huh? You've been at every meeting. Yes.
I'm not.
Neither to me.
It's.
Yeah, I have no life.
That's not what he said.
I've been here.
That's what he said.
It's what he meant, but it's not what he said.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sayak. Any further discussion? So, just everybody's clear, it'll be the total meetings paid in the bottom right, the number of meetings paid. And
Because you get to miss 2 for the year that you get paid for.
so if you miss 2 the first 6 months,
So you guys make me do math.
you can't miss any of the second 6 months.
Because we're all here for the money.
Well, trustees do get a pay raise on the next pay.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, because you guys were voted in, so.
Yeah. So since you guys
Starting in May.
started in May, your
I don't know if
pay
you were
goes
here
up.
when they voted. Were you here? Anyway,
No, we lowered his.
okay.
So
I
motion
thought it
by
was for free when I said.
we get paid for this?
so a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And we will roll call it. Pearson,
Yes.
Sidak,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yep.
Rexell, yes, and Mr. Miller.
Yes.
And just a reminder, anybody that wants to sign up for direct deposit for their pay can do so.
Oh,
Yes, I found that out. I was told I couldn't when I was a board member, and I found out, and I get direct.
And I don't
deposit.
see why not.
So,
I think I have that sheet somewhere.
What do we gotta do?
I will bring you a form as soon as we conclude our meeting.
So the board we would like to, if the board would like to do it, we'd like to have a Village of Hannah City Community Night at the Sportsman's Club. To have all the new elected officials there, have Jim and Roger and Brad, myself, Brian, Cassandra, Tracy, just so if the community come out, if they can meet the board, they can also, ask questions if they have them, we can answer them there. And we were also looking to do a thing, if you come in, show us your ID, if it's a Village of Hannah City address, we'll give you one of the free t-shirts in the back. So the 2 nights are proposed right now are May 30th and May 31st.
Or, not and.
5:30 or 5:31.
Well, there's a difference.
Yes, there is.
The other thing we talked about doing was having sign up. So if they wanted to sign up for the e-billing, they can do that. But nothing formal, just basically a horseshoe of tables with, here's the water guys, here's the administration people,
They're gonna
here's
want
the
to talk to
whatever.
They're gonna want.
They're gonna really want to talk to you.
There's a board member that personally benefits from the water reading.
Brad, what are you thinking? I can tell you got something going on.
This is a question for your attorney.
Oh, yeah.
How does that fit into Open Meetings Act?
How does the community night fit into the Open Meetings Act?
Yes. If all of the commissioners are going to be there and they're opening up for the community to come and discuss community business, does that fall under Open Meetings Act?
That's a good question.
Yes,
I think it would. But
We just have to advertise it.
you have to
Yeah.
advertise it.
Yeah.
Which typically is a community meeting, we probably would anyway to try to get people there.
Yeah, there wouldn't be an agenda or anything, but we just have to make sure we post it, right?
Yeah, it would have to be posted a certain.
10 days, I probably.
It doesn't have to be posted,
No.
I'm sorry, you just have
That's
to.
posted.
48 hours.
Just
On the
just a
day.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like this meeting. And the
Oh,
agenda would
okay.
just be open discussion.
But yeah, that was the only thing I was thinking of.
That's a good question. Thanks, Fred. Didn't think about that.
Well, we better decide on a date.
Well, it's one of those two.
So
I don't see any conflict for
30th
me.
is a Tuesday, 31st is a Wednesday. And that's May is one of those weeks where we have It would be on the week where there's like, we don't have the extra meeting, we got the extra, so it would be that week, so you would have a commitment where you normally wouldn't.
So let's do it on Tuesday like we normally would.
I do have
like
a
going
legal
Tuesday.
question.
Yeah, like Tuesday too.
Is that, are they getting paid for that or not getting paid for
Fire
that?
drinks for us.
Because I have a slot for special meetings.
If it's a meeting, then they would get paid.
I mean, if it
Feels
meets the
weird.
requirement, I guess.
It is a meeting.
We could hold it and put it under an additional special meeting. So you have possibility to get paid for one extra meeting.
I mean, I'm gonna pay
They'll
the,
still be making money on me. I've missed enough. I'll be in the hole anyway. So
for the
Oh, that's a new year.
for the hourly employees, it'll have to be
It'll still-
overtime.
If they can make it.
They're gonna make it.
They're gonna make it for overtime.
I gotta stay all night.
Mandatory.
No, nothing's mandatory. Except for your time.
why does that have to be mandatory? Why can't it be woman-datory?
So are you just gonna let us
First of
know
all,
the date?
Super.
So
You like Tuesday? You
Tuesday,
like Wednesday?
5:30.
Tuesday works.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, might as well hold it on Tuesday since that would be our regular meeting night.
You gonna be this?
I don't look at my calendar. Yep, completely free.
You come on your own.
Abby, you're invited too.
And we're gonna see what they can do as far as some type of small food too. They have hot
What
dogs.
time are we doing this?
I don't know why you gonna bring the kids.
Well, no, I want to put it on my calendar right now. Or I won't be there. If I don't put it in here, I won't be there.
6 to 8.
Yeah, sounds good. 6 to 8.
That works for me.
And yes, you can drink beer.
Oh, good.
No,
Not really.
I don't.
Also, we got a acknowledgement of our donation to the Farmington Central Academic Foundation from Kathleen Welch, the secretary, just in our amount of $1,000 hereby acknowledged and sincere gratitude from the Farmington Central Academic Foundation. So, and that's coming up soon too.
You don't have to. Nothing's mandatory. No woman-datory.
Anything else need to come before the board this evening? Our next board meeting is May 2nd, 2023. Meeting adjourned. You have to be so difficult.